Welcome to Triumphing Over Trauma, where resilience reigns and women rewrite their stories of victory after trauma. I'm Gina, your guide on this empowering journey. With a mission to help women overcome trauma, I'm here to inspire you to cultivate a positive mindset, embrace self-love, and find peace. Join me as we celebrate strength, reclaim power, and triumph over adversity together. Hey, beautiful soul, and welcome back to Triumphing Over Trauma, living life victoriously after trauma. I'm your host, Gina, and today we're going there. We're stepping into that heavy, sacred space called grief, where love once lived so loudly, and now silence has taken its place. Maybe you've lost a parent, a partner, a child, a best friend. Maybe you've lost a version of yourself you used to be. Grief doesn't just knock on your door politely. It rips it off the damn hinges. It doesn't care about your schedule, your strength, or how many thoughts and prayers people send. It is messy, and it is brutal. Yet, buried underneath the wreckage, there's life still whispering, "Come find me." Today's episode is not about getting over it. It's not about slapping a pretty little bow on pain. It's about learning to carry your grief without letting it carry you away. It's about honoring the ones we've lost by choosing to keep living wide open, even with a broken heart. So if you're ready to feel seen, to cry if you need to breathe again, even if it's shaky, stay with me, because today we're finding life after death try to take it all. Death and grief are not strangers to me, as they have been a part of my life since I was 8. They have equally infiltrated my heart and robbed my soul of peace, joy, and love, while taking some of the individuals that have loved me the most. Whether it was a series of strokes, heart attacks, a pain pump explosion, breast cancer with metastasis to the stomach, or a murder-suicide, the mysterious involvement of death and grief in my life has been something that has made me dig even deeper to find my strength, courage to move on, and remember the love that was shared and keep it deep in my heart. When death first hits, whether it's expected or not, shock hits the soul as the mind starts to figure out what exactly has happened. In time, the mind, soul, and heart will be on the same page, but certainly not in the beginning. At one point, I felt like death had finally become a very distant stranger. Well, until I reached the age of 33. This death hit me far differently than any death that I had ever experienced. Thursday, October the 10th, 2013 started off just like any other weekday. I was up early for work as I was in the operating room as a nurse, and I had to wake up my boys to take them to daycare as they were only 6. The morning unfolded just like it normally would, and continued to move smoothly until about 1 p.m. I was running one room of a 2-room rotation for an orthopedic surgeon that day. While I was waiting for my counterpart to alert me that I could go and get my patient from pre-op, my supervisor showed up at my door. To me, this would be odd normally, but as I saw her show up at my door, I recalled that I just missed a call from my stepmom while I was working on resetting my room for the next patient. When my supervisor looked at me and motioned with her index finger saying, "Come here," I knew something was different about this summons. She followed with, "I need you to come here." I slowly walked to her, hopeful that it was not something about my dad on the phone, but my gut told me otherwise. She wrapped her arm around my shoulders as we walked together, and she told me that there was another nurse from another hospital's ER on the phone wanting to talk to me. I walked up to the front desk and answered the phone with, "Hello? Yes, this is her." "Okay, thank you. I will be right there." She had told me that it was my dad in the ER and I needed to get there. As I hung up that phone, I dropped to my knees and screamed the most awful scream ever. In fact, I can still hear it as I share my story with you today. I am thankful for the coworkers that day who lifted me up and walked with me as I tried to gather my things together. I was determined to get there as soon as possible, even if I had to drive myself there. Again, someone stepped up. It was my supervisor. She drove me to the entrance of the ER and dropped me off. Inside the ER, I told them who I was there for and the name of the nurse that had reached out to me. I quickly passed the bay that my dad was in and was led up to the back stairway to the second floor as my dad was currently in the cath lab. Cath lab C, to be specific. There was no one in the hallway, so the individual that took me upstairs led me to the waiting room. As I walked in there, I saw people that I was familiar with, my stepmom, my dad's pastor, and now me. I asked for an update because I was unsure what had happened and found out that my dad had chest pain again in the morning, had taken some nitroglycerin, reached out to my stepmom who was sleeping after working third shift, and called his own ambulance. While in the ambulance, his heart stopped twice and the EMTs were able to bring him back. His heart would stop a third time coming off of the elevator to get into the cath lab. The elasticity and the rebound of the elevator drop as it landed on the second floor affected my dad's heart again as it stopped once more. He had just seen his cardiologist the day before who had cleared him for an upcoming surgery. Later, I would find out that there were so many steps that were missed during that visit, but at this point, it was too late. While I listened to the others fill me in on what had happened with my dad prior to my arrival to the ER, I calmly said, "I do not think that he will make it this time. His heart is much too sick." I was the calm one in that moment, much like my dad was the same for others who were in my situation. He was also a nurse, ICU and CCU. 2 months prior, when he was taken in for a balloon cath and had stents placed, one ruptured that caused his heart to become filled with blood clots. But he still made it. That day we talked about different things such as my boys, work, and other changes that had occurred, and I got to hear him sing a little bit. Frank Sinatra, My Way. Tragedy would strike that day, too, as we sat and talked, and a 27-year-old patient 2 rooms over started to code. Even in that moment, he was more concerned for her than he was himself during his own recovery. Time continued to move forward. I received the call in the OR at 1:09, and by 2 p.m., the heart specialist who was working with him in the cath lab showed up in the waiting room with us. I knew what was about to happen, although I had hoped that it was not the case. When he started with, "We did everything we could," my biggest nightmare had occurred. I had lost my North Star, my truest supporter, and the one who had loved me unconditionally the most, especially when I was fighting to learn how to love myself as deeply. That would come in time, years after his death and when my divorce was finalized. In that moment, I was not only operating from a daughter's standpoint, but also medical personnel. I even said, "Forgive me if I sound brash with questions. I am also in the medical field and I have been where you are now with us. My brain has not shifted from my medical personnel to daughter yet, but I do have a question. What is the best way for me to share with my 6-year-old twin sons that their grandpa is not coming home?" He softened towards me and said, "I do not know the answer to that, as I have a 6-year-old myself." The room became enveloped in silence, and time moved on. After the conversation ended, we were given the opportunity to see my dad and Cath Lab C. While I was a ball of madness on the inside, the outside of me was composed and well put together. We walked together into the room and saw my dad peacefully lying there as if he was asleep. I felt a sudden surge of calmness come over me as they let me step up to be beside my dad first. I looked at him and flashed back to all the times when I was a kid and would watch him sleep peacefully after taking care of patients and their families overnight. I reached out to touch him, his skin still warm and soft. I looked at him and saw a smile on his face, and I knew who he had seen prior to his passing. My great-grandmother, whom we had lost when I was 18 to breast cancer with metastasis to her stomach. One last time I laid my head on his chest like I used to, when I was needing calmness, solace, peace, and love. I once started a poem with, "Have you ever laid your head on a chest where the heart doesn't beat?" I have. I never finished it. After we spent time with my dad, we went outside and talked. It was something like a sick joke. The weather was beautiful, the sky was blue, the sun was out, and there was a gentle light breeze. I was given a hug, and in that moment I felt like the world was moving around me, and I was just standing still. As I was getting my hug, I heard my intuition strike and say, "It will be a year in no time." And all I could think at that moment was, good. I hoped that moving on would be smooth, but it was anything but that. It was downright messy with a bunch of twists and turns, downpouring emotional storms, and days I did not want to get out of the bed. There's a toxicity that occurs from others when a loved one has been taken from us in the form of death. It is a hurried rush to move on, to be who you used to be, and to show up with everything you have, even when you feel like you do not have anything at all. Death and grief does not go down like that, and it will not be a rushed-through process. It is deeply personal to each individual who holds the hand of death and reaches out to grief to find solace in an encapsulating process. Alone, isolated, silent, loud, scream, tears, darkness. You don't move on, you move forward. Carrying love, loss, memory, and resilience all tangled up inside you. At this point, grief is just love with nowhere to go. Death and grief feel like you are standing in a room where someone turned the lights out. You reach up to find the one pull string that will turn the lights back on, but it's a massive struggle to find it. Still, you fight to find it. Even on the days when you do not feel like you can do anymore, you fight. Almost like small rebellions against the feeling of despair. You are searching for a way out of your struggles and a way to make it back to the light so that you can find yourself again and be happy. Suddenly, there are times when you start to hear and see small glimpses of yourself returning, laughing during a movie, craving something to eat long after periods of time of no appetite. The love that you feel in return when you are hugging your kids or those who are closest to you, running in the backyard with your dogs, and finally sitting down to relax and actually finding some peace there. Healing comes to us when we least expect it. It's in subtle waves or massive ones that knock us over, causing us to find balance again. It is in these moments that we truly look at life and death differently and think about ways that we can change our lives for the better. After losing my dad, I knew I had to make changes to the way that I was living. Time became more important to me, and truly being there for my children mattered more to me than anything. It meant not working as much and knowing that as a single mom that I could make it work for us. I was also going through a divorce when I lost my dad. It meant being more present in each moment and not worrying about what I had to get done. It meant eating healthier and living a more optimal life so that I could be here longer, not only for myself, but also for my kids. It meant finding joy, love, and peace amongst the storms of my life and finding the silver lining. Today, at some point, maybe even multiple times, I invite you to close your eyes and name one tiny thing you did today that honored your life. Rebuilding after death seems like a slap in the face to the individuals you have lost in the face of death. It feels wrong even to think about moving forward and leaving them behind. In certain instances, it makes you feel like you are losing them all over again. At times, trying to move on can also make you feel like you are paralyzed with your emotions stuck in quicksand. It feels like something that you were supposed to do, but something that your heart and mind tell you not to do. This can make it hard to start living again and even more difficult to just move on. Healing doesn't occur overnight. It is a deeply transformative process. When following your heart leads to an everlasting change that lasts forever. It starts with imagining how you want to see yourself, who you want to surround yourself with, and the way you want to feel in your own environment. When you start to see yourself differently, healing finds you in the most beautiful of ways. There will be times when you question if you are doing it right and feel as if you are walking on shaky ground. This is the time when you will need to dig a little deeper and continue to move forward at the pace that feels comfortable for you. Growth does not occur when you feel comfortable, and neither does healing. During the moments of overwhelm, do not forget to stop and take a moment to recenter yourself with some calming breaths that will help you to refocus your attention. Rest is important during any kind of healing and recovery. In the face of death, grief, and loss, you have faced emotions that are so great that you have felt like you were drowning, but you are still standing. In spite of it all, you have grown much deeper, wiser, and wider in your heart. Expansion has occurred, which is marked by great change and transformation. Remember to be kind, patient, and gentle to yourself during the process. On the days that you are struggling, say this to yourself: I carry my love, I carry my loss, and I carry myself forward. Allowing yourself to rebuild after death and grief is one of the greatest forms of self-love that you can truly provide to yourself. It does not have to be perfect. It just has to be present. As we close today's conversation, I want you to take a deep breath with me. Inhale grace and exhale guilt. Because listen, you are allowed to miss them forever. That love doesn't have an expiration date. And still you are also allowed to laugh again, to dance again, to live wide open and unafraid, even if your heart still aches. Grief doesn't shrink your life, it can deepen it. It cracks you wide enough to let the light in. It teaches you how precious this messy, beautiful life really is. You don't have to rush your healing. You don't need to apologize for the tears or explain why a song wrecked you in the middle of the grocery store. You're human. You're healing. And you are still here. That matters more than you know. Let this be the moment you choose you, because grief may have changed your life, but it doesn't get to write the rest of your story. If this episode hit home for you, if your chest felt heavy but your soul whispered, yes, this is what I needed, then I want to tell you something gently from one survivor to another. You don't have to stay lost in the ache. There's a path forward, one that doesn't erase your grief but helps you rise with it. It's called Finding Direction from Within, and I created it for women who are ready to stop surviving and start reclaiming their life. For the women who want to look in the mirror and see someone who feels safe, grounded, radiant, even after the storm. This isn't just a course. It's a sacred, soul-deep invitation to come back home to yourself, to remember who you were before the world cracked open, and discover who you still can become. You can take this journey on your own with self-paced version, or if your heart's craving deeper connection and guidance, you can walk this road closely with me step by step. Either way, you're not walking it alone. Not anymore. The path is already inside you. You just need to find the courage to take that first step forward. And I'll be right there with you. You can find all the details at www.bodyelementsmindelevation.com or check the link in the show notes. Your healing matters. Your directions matter. You are so worth the work. Thank you for being here with me today, for showing up, for letting yourself feel something. You are part of this community of survivors, of soul-deep warriors, and I'm so proud to walk beside you. If this episode moved you, if you felt seen, please follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need a little hope today. Because grief shared is grief softened, and healing is something we don't have to do alone. Until next time, take care of your heart, live full, love hard, and remember, you are not just surviving, you're becoming. This is Gina, signing off. Thank you for tuning in to Triumphant Over Trauma, where resilience prevails and women rewrite their stories of victory after trauma. Remember, healing is a journey, not a destination. Keep embracing your strength, cultivating resilience, and shining your light bright. You are capable of triumphing over any challenge life throws your way. Until next time, keep rising and thriving. You've got this.